paint a nice little churchy face. Yeah, I love y'all. No, every day of the week, we need to be favorable to those around us. And so we need to grow in those areas. And then fourthly, I guess this morning, we're taking a look at 47C. Is where God, that says this, it says, and the Lord added to their number daily, to those who are being saved. The Lord added to their number, to those who are being saved. And today I want to talk about this, because this is a kind of an interesting thought here. All of the things that we're talking about were things that you and I can do. You know, for the last 3 weeks, we've been talking about the things that you and I can do. Growth and maturity takes effort to be devoted. Growth in unity takes effort to not gossip about everybody and not be so disunified. Takes effort. And then growth in favor takes effort to really enjoy each other and to be around each other. Now, this is the point where then God gives the blessing. God shows the blessing because He adds the numbers. So we've got growth in passion, maturity, growth in unity, growth in favor, and then God finally gives us those numbers. He said that He added to those numbers daily, those being saved. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit this morning, about really what it means to grow in unity, or grow in numbers this morning. I'm going to take a look at 1 Corinthians chapter 3. This will kind of give us a premise of really what we're talking about this morning. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 5 through 9. This is Paul writing to the Corinthians. And he says this: what after all is Apollos? And what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe. As the Lord has assigned to each task, I planted the seed, Paul says. He's writing this. I planted the seed, Apollos watered it. But God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. The one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose. The one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose. And they will each be rewarded according to their own labor. Verse 9, for we are co-workers in God's service. You are God's field, God's building. You see, this is the beautiful passage of Scripture where Paul is talking about planters. There's people that are planting the seed, and there's others that are waterers, those who are watering the seed. You see, there's a difference. Some of you may be those people who like to plant the seed. Now, what's the seed? We're talking about God's Word. The good news is the seed that we all have that we need to give to somebody else. And so you can be a planter. Paul himself describes himself as a planter. He was one he just loves to give out God's Word. He loves to just plant the seeds, right? And some, he says, Apollos is the waterer. Well, if you're a waterer, that means that when the seed has been planted, you come alongside of somebody and say, you know what, that person perhaps just accepted God's Word in their heart. I'm going to come next to that person and disciple them, walk them through, teach them, help them through this. That's a waterer. So some of you in here may be just planters. You're like, I'd love to tell my story. I'd love to tell the good news about Jesus Christ. But others can be waterers. Others can be the ones who say, you know what, I'm not really the greatest person at that. So I'm going to come alongside of somebody and disciple them through and walk them through this thing. And so Paul describes this. There's some are waterers, some are planters. But the point this morning is that God makes it grow. God makes it grow. Some years ago, there's a study. There's a study done. It was done by an agricultural school in Iowa. It reported that the production of 100 bushels of corn from 1 acre of land, okay, 100 bushels of corn from 1 acre of land, it required 4 million pounds of water. 4 million pounds of water. That's crazy. It required 6,800 pounds of oxygen, 5,200 pounds of carbon, 160 pounds of nitrogen, 125 pounds of potassium, 75 pounds of yellow sulfur. And so in addition to all of these ingredients to produce that 100 bushels of corn from 1 acre, this also said that it required rain and sunshine at the exact times that is needed for this corn. And so the source reported that although many hours of labor from the farmer was included, only 5% was attributed to the farmer himself or herself. You see, so the point is that when you need all of this stuff to make 100 bushels of corn, God is the only one that can make it grow. we can do all we can do, but it's only 5% of the farmer's actual labor that takes place. So you see, God is the one who makes things grow, obviously in the agricultural fields. But you see, God makes things grow in the heart as well. And so we think about that by our own hands we can reap what is sown. Therefore we pat ourselves on the back for the growth that we've experienced. But understand that God makes it all grow. God makes this church grow. We've experienced an interesting thought in our church, is that we try to grow our church early on. We're a brand new church. We're only about 8 years old now. So we're still pretty new compared to some churches. Now, early on in the history of Shoreline Church, we decided to say, all right, programs is where it's at. Some of you remember all the Easter egg hunts that we've done. Some of you remember all the distribution of the service projects and all that fun stuff. The problem is that what we were doing was we were marketing the church, and that's not a problem. That's not a big deal. But when you market the church and we were reaching out in the name of outreach, we were completely missing this whole thing called evangelism. Because there's a definite difference. We have marketing and outreach, and then you have evangelism. What marketing and outreach is advertisement, getting things out there. You know, we had the Easter Blitz that we used to do every Easter Sunday morning. We'd have 3,000 candy-filled eggs. We'd have 4, 5, 6 bikes to give away. We had prizes after prize after prize to give away. We had well over 500 people out at the band shell on Easter Sunday morning to do our Easter egg hunt and giveaway. You know, so our thought was to grow the church. We're going to grow. We're going to grow the church. We're going to grow the church. But the fact of the matter is that we were growing at all. We were really just kind of burning ourselves out by doing these programs and doing these things. Now, there's nothing wrong with marketing. There's nothing wrong with doing programs, and there's nothing wrong with having fun with that. But the problem is that we were substituting outreach with evangelism. What's evangelism? That's a kind of a big churchy word, by saying spreading the gospel seed. Spreading the seed, getting the gospel out of Jesus Christ, telling people your story, telling the people what God has done for you in your life. See, that's the tendency, is to say, well, we're marketing, we're outreach, we're in our community. No, we're not in our community. We are not evangelizing, saving souls. So that's what we have to be careful. The next couple weekends, we're doing a Fall Fest. That's our annual Fall Fest. We're literally have thousands of people coming through this building. It's fantastic. It's awesome. It's great. But you see, we do it every year, and it's fun. And we need some helpers. We need some candy, and it's a good outreach. It's a good marketing tool for our church. It shows our church that, hey, we are out here. We're not just going to turn the lights off when the city is all around us, and doing their thing. We're going to be a part, and that's an awesome thing. So I celebrate it. But let's not get thinking that's evangelism. It's not. It's not. We are not doing anything to promote Jesus Christ. We're simply saying we're a church. So don't get me wrong, church. It's a good thing. We're doing it. But we've got to be sure to understand that we cannot grow this church. Only God can make it grow. You see, only God can make things can benefit. Only God can make things grow in our church. So, interestingly enough, we need to do our part, though, is sharing the seed, spreading the seed of God's word, His good news. That is the part that we have, and then God makes it grow. So just like Peter or Paul was talking, there's some that spread the gospel, there's some that water it, but only God can make it grow. So we got to understand that this morning. So God added to the numbers, to those daily who are being saved. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So you ask the question, how do we do this? How do you really do this? How do you share your faith? How do you witness? Well, that's a whole nother topic of sermon, but not topic, whole other time for instruction and training. But